Assalamu alaikum. We are coming to you live from the heart of the city's center. This is Horizon TV, the premier Islamic station. Now, welcome to the real live talk with me, Aisha Khan. Of course, I'm standing in for my brother, Faisal Qasim. Now, today's topic of discussion is the plight of madrasa teachers and imams due to the coronavirus pandemic. And with me in studio, I have Sheikh Salim Charo, who is the chairman of CIPK, and Sheikh Yusuf Abu Najm Abu Hamza, who is the religious affairs from Sukim. Now, before we begin this conversation, our reporter of Tumbo went onto the ground to hear from the horse's mouth what exactly is happening on the ground. Let's take a look.
In line with the directive to avoid crowded places, citizens are encouraged to avoid congregating, including in places of worship. B.
It was on 22nd of March 2020 when the government ordered for immediate closure of places of worship when a number of COVID-19 positive cases increased in the country in a bid to contain the spread of this deadly virus. Although the directive came with mixed reactions from the Muslim faithfuls, it was meant to protect them from contracting the deadly virus. The pandemic has brought life to a standstill across the country and has resulted to loss of millions of jobs, and Imams and Madrassa teachers were equally affected. While many Islamic centers remain closed, Imams and Madrassa teachers are facing serious economic uncertainties as a result of job losses and serious pay cuts from the meager income earned. This has increased pressure to ensure there is an alternative to cater for their daily survival and meeting their financial requirements. Many teachers and imams have resolved to engage in manual work like loading sand into trucks for construction, others opting for small businesses like selling second-hand clothes, while others survive the hard way of continuous begging in order to meet their demands. Our visit to a number of mosques within Nairobi and other counties has revealed the painful experience some of our imams and mosque assistants pass through to make their ends meet. We visited Umoja Mosque along Moi Drive in Nairobi and met Sheikh Musa Ayongo, a madrasa teacher who shared his experience with Horizon TV.
Kawaida tangu serikali ifunge mahali pa kuabudu, tumeathirika kifedha sana. Manake mahali pa kuabudu naona kama madrasa, shule zilifunga. So hapo madrasa ndio tulikuwa tunapata kitu cha kujikimu nacho kimaisha. Lakini tangu ifunge madrasa pia zikafunga. Lakini tunashukuru Mungu, mahali madrasa yetu tumekuwa tukipata kitu takangani nusu.
Kwa hivyo wewe umeathirika, lakini kuna kitu ambacho mnapata, sio eti labda imekatika kabisa.
Okay, kuna kitu ambacho unapata, lakini pia nafaa pia utafute kwingine ujazilie.
We also talked to Hassan Adam, Umoja Mosque caretaker, who reveals to Horizon TV that life has not been easy since the pandemic outbreak.
Mimi ndio official caretaker hapa. Mimi ndio katika ile janga la corona, mimi ndio na fumigate hapa, na wakati watu waingia kwa sala, mimi ndio naangalia temperature. Wakati corona pia ilivyotokea, the interim committee wakakutana akasema all the staff mshahara itakuwa inalipwa nusu. Every staff ambayo yuko katika Umoja Mosque huwa anapata mshahara nusu. Na saa nyingine iko consistent. Pia pato kubwa ilikuwa inatoka madrasa, na madrasa wazazi walipi tu swala corona.
According to Adam, the management opted to slash his salary by a half, which has paralyzed most of his operations by far, a decision which he believes will come to an end soon by the end of the pandemic.
I hope juu swala la corona sasa linaenda likififia, watai upgrade kwa kama the same scale now wafanyakazi wengine.
We also interacted with the mosque's deputy imam Hussein Ali, who said that the major challenge is delayed salary from the cut pay, which has also continued to frustrate imams and madrasa teachers.
Mishahara ina mitihani. Utakuta saa zingine kama mwezi mzima mtu hajapata, unaambiwa ungoje. Sasa mwezi ule ujao unapata mshahara wa last month ama hata nusu saa zingine. So unakuta kuna problem nyingi sana, kwa sababu kama vile sasa kuna work freeze ya ukafu. Watu wale ambao kama wako katika zile ukafu hawalipi, maana hakuna biashara, na zingine wamefunga kabisa.
Hussein, who is also employed somewhere else but serves as a voluntary imam at the mosque, has advised fellow imams to look for alternatives to help them cater for their basic needs, other than depending solely on salary from the mosque management to help them avoid frustrations and depression.
Nina ajiri yangu kando na ninaswalisha hawa maimamu. Ningewahusia mtu ajaribu sana apate kazi nyingine kando. Kule kuswali ni lazima, either unalipa ama ulipi, lazima utaswali. Sasa ningewahusia mtu asitegemee sana kule kwa kuswalisha.
Ibrahim Kwaya, the chairperson Umoja Mosque, in response to our questions regarding the pay cut, he said the management opted to cut the pay by 50% because the mosque income reduced by larger percentage, which could not meet the full salaries for both the imam, madrasa teachers and non-teaching staff. The decision was to ensure that at least each employee gets something at the end of the day other than no salary at all.
Kila jambo linatokamana na Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Huu ulikuwa ni mtihani, na sio hapa kwetu tu, bali ni ulimwengu mzima. Kweli tumepitia changamoto, kwa maana kama vile nilivyotangulia kusema, hapa tuna madrasa, hapa tuna shule, tuna staff ambao wanafanya kazi hapa. Na imekuwa ni changamoto haswa kwa namna ya kuhakimu, kwa sababu institution hii kwa kawaida huwa tunategemea fees ambazo zinalipwa kwa shule, fees ambazo zinalipwa kwa madrasa, kuweza kutimiza majukumu ya kuwalipa imamu wetu, naibu imam na walimu na staff wengine ambao ni non-teaching staff katika institution hii. Kidogo ile ambayo tumekuwa tukipata kutokana na rental space ya hapa msikitini, sisi kama kamati tuliamua ni vema tupunguze ule mshahara to 50% kwa all the staff, kutoka imam mpaka non-teaching staff. Na kwa njia hii, kwa njia ya ubinadamu, tumeweza tukiwalipa walimu wetu na non-teaching staff mshahara huu wa 50%. Japokuwa ni kidogo, lakini tunaona ni bora angalau heri shari nusu kuliko shari nzima.
With the same experience is Ustad Abdul Rashid Matseshe, a local imam at Shikoka Mosque in the outskirts of Mumias town in Kakamega County. According to the imam, the hardship that followed the closure of places of worship, which indefinitely halted his source of income, forced him to load sand to construction trucks from a nearby river for a daily stipend of only 200 shillings. The imam, who also says he sells second-hand clothes in Mumias market, but since the ban to import mitumba products, life has been a hell of an experience.
Majina yangu naitwa Rashid Al-Fatihi. Mimi ni imamu wa Shikoka. Kwa hakika ndugu yangu, hali imekuwa ni ngumu zaidi, changamoto kubwa sana ambayo sasa sisi kama walimu wa dini na maimamu tunaona ni kubwa. Ukweli ni kwamba maeneo yangu sina ufadhili wala silipu mshahara, kwa sababu misikiti za mashinani ufadhili hawapatikani. Kuna baadhi ya maimamu hadi ikiwa hivyo ngumu, basi wanakimbia wanaenda mijini kwa ajili ya kupata kipato. Lakini mimi kwa binafsi yangu ninapata kipato changu kwa kutoa mchanga kwa mtu mzoea, na huo mchanga wa kitambo ufikiri shilingi 200 ndugu yangu kwa siku. Hiyo utakuwa umefanya kibarua kikubwa sana. Mimi kama imamu naomba wahisani kama wanaweza angalia hali hii ya maimamu, kwa sababu hofu yangu ni kwa vijana wanaotoka chini, hawataweza kutamani kuwa imamu wala ya mwalimu. Kuangalia hali ya imamu namna ilivyo, imamu lazima atoe mchanga, hali yake ngumu, maisha magumu, hawezi wakatamani kuwa imamu. Na hata wasiokuwa Waislamu wakati wanaona kiongozi wa dini anateseka kiasi hiki, na hawezi wakatamani dini hiyo, anaona ndimi ya kuteseka.
We went further to Luanda Shop Mosque in Kakamega County, where we met Imam Abdallah, who said the closure of mosques affected their financial powers because most of their income comes from the daily charity from the faithful. Sheikh Abdallah called upon well-wishers to come out to help improve the status of imams and madrasa teachers who lack financial support from their respective mosques and institutions.
My name is Abdallah Ngani, Imam and Madrasa teacher at Luanda Shop Masjid, around 5 kilometers away from Kakamega Jamia Masjid in Kakamega County. Corona affected us financially greatly because as imam and teacher from a village mosque, we highly depend on Sadaqah and Friday donations for our livelihood, and it was cut indefinitely, hence affecting our source of income. I call upon Muslim organizations like SUPKEM and CIPK to come to the rescue of imams.
To get more experience, we visited Al-Maida Mosque in Kibra, where we met Imam Imran Ayub, who shared his plight as an imam during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Imam, the pandemic has brought everything to a standstill and called upon the Muslim organizations like CIPK and SUPKEM to come to the rescue of imams and madrasa teachers to help boost their survival by putting them into consideration. The Imam, on the other hand, advised his fellow Imams to be innovative and form alternative means to help them earn income to avoid being hit hard by such pandemics and other uncertainties.
The main message is to the Imams, challenges are there. Challenges are there so long as you live in this world. Allah shall test all of us to see whether your faith is truly to Him or to this dunya.
The immediate closure of places of worship in the country was among the raft of measures the government announced on Sunday, March 22nd, in a bid to contain the spread of COVID-19 after the confirmed cases of the deadly virus increased in the country. Since then, our imams and madrasa teachers across the country were adversely affected due to lack of financial powers, some opting for alternative sources to cater for their daily survival. Nechesa Suleiman, Horizon TV.
Thank you so much, Oftumbo, for that in-depth feature. And now we have a special recording from CIPK National Chairman Ibrahim Ateka. Let's take a listen.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Kwa majina naitwa Sheikh Abdallah Ibrahim Ateka, nikiwa mwenyekiti wa Baraza Kuu la Maimamu na Wahubiri nchini Kenya. Nilivyosema mbeleni ya kwamba baada ya kumhimidi Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala na kumtakia mtume rehema na amani zimfikie, baada ya kumtegemea Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala maimamu na walimu wa madrasa, pia huwa pato letu tunapata kupitia kwa msikiti pamoja na wale wanafunzi ambao huja kusoma katika madrasa wakileta zile malipo ya kusomeshwa katika madrasa. Lakini kutokana na kipindi ambacho tumekuwa nacho cha corona, kwa hakika tulipitia katika mitihani mingi. Mashekhe wengi, walimu wengi wa madrasa wamepitia katika mitihani kwa sababu misikiti ilikuja ikafungwa, ikawa hakuna waumini kuja kuswali Ijumaa wala swala yoyote kwa kutoa sadaka zao. Alafu pia kafungwa, hakuna wale wanafunzi waliokuja kulete sadaka ile ya kulipa katika school fees. Alafu wale watu ambao tunawategemea kama wale wa matajiri wa Kiislamu ambao wanapenda kutoa sadaka zao kwa mashekhe na walimu wa madrasa, pia biashara zao zilikuja zikahazoroteka na zikaharibika. Kwa hiyo kukaweko na mtihani mkubwa, lakini tunamshukuru Mwenyezi Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, maana yake ndio mwenye kupeana riziki. Baada ya hiyo mtihani tumepitia ndani yake, tunashukuru ni kadri za Mwenyezi Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Kwa hivyo mwito wetu tungelipenda kusema kwamba kama yote ambaye anasimamia msikiti wote katika Kenya, tungeliomba kama inawezekana iwe inajenga msikiti na pia kuweko na jumba ambalo la wakfu au jumba la kulete kipato kila mwezi, ili kutokea mambo kama haya maimamu na mashehe na wale wenye kusomesha watu wa madrasa wasiwe wenye kupitia katika mitihani mikubwa, waweze kupata riziki zao na maisha yao yazidi kuendelea. Na pia tungelipenda kutoa mwito kwa mashehe wetu na maimamu waweze kuwa na chochote ambacho wanajishughulisha nacho, kama ni biashara kadogo au ni mkulima unalipa chakula chako au unafanya shughuli fulani, kwa sababu ikitokea mambo kama hayo una chochote ambacho uweze kuendesha maisha yako. Kwa hivyo tunamshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu wote ambao waliotokea, maana sasa ilikuwa ni jambo ambalo linabidi lifanyike, lakini kwa ufupi ni kwamba hali ilikuwa ngumu, watu walipitia kwa mtihani mbalimbali. Maana wale ambao wanatusaidia walikuwa biashara iliharibika, misikiti ilisimama na hali madrasa ikasimama, basi hali ikawa namna hiyo na maisha ikawa ngumu sana kwa mashehe na pamoja na wahubiri na wale maimamu ambao wanaendesha msikiti hutuba mbalimbali katika msikiti mbalimbali. Kwa hivyo huo ndio wito wangu ambao ningelienda kutoa kwa wale ambao wanasimamia msikiti na wale ambao wanaendesha biashara. Tunazidi kuombea Mwenyezi Mungu afungue biashara zao, mambo yawe mazuri, ili wazidi kusaidia mashehe wetu na maimamu mbalimbali ambao wanaendesha dini katika nchi ya Kenya. Kwa haya machache au mengi ambayo nimeweza kusema, nawashukuru Horizon TV kwa kuweza kuweka kwenye online, kuweza kuongea nao ili kuwajulisha yale ambayo tumenafikiria kama baraza kuu la maimamu na wahubiri nchini Kenya.
Sheikh Salim Charo, now let's begin this conversation. What do you have to say about this? I mean, you have watched the clips, you have listened to them. What is your take on this?
First, I'd like to thank you and Horizon TV for inviting me to share what imams are going through, especially during this period of COVID-19 pandemic. And it's true that imams have gone through a lot, and what they are saying is true, and it's only that they've not been able to cover everything or to give details of what they've been going through. But you know, on the other hand, just I can mention is that it's only that it happens that we imams and madrasa teachers, we mostly depend or rely on the salaries that we get from the mosque management or madrasas management. And we forget that at least we can have a little or a side hustle, the way we call it, a side hustle, so that you may be dependent on you may not be 100% dependent on what you earn from the committee. And that's why most imams and madrasa teachers were affected by this. Alhamdulillah, you can say from the issue of talking of the issue, we've seen the deputy imam from Umoja. We can say they were lucky because they were earning something small or the half of their salary. But there is a certain mosque I visited, and you know, I was amazed that you know, the chairman told me, you know, when the government ordered the closure of the mosque, we had to send our imam home, you know, so yeah, totally without anything, and you know, he was sent for a leave without pay. They were only left with the muadhin because of the call of adhan. So imams went through a lot, and I think what we need to do is a high time for we imams to think out of the box, or what we should do rather than relying on the salaries or the wages that we get from the mosque management.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Sheikh Yusuf Abu Hamza, what do you have to say on this?
Personally, I think the coming of COVID-19, this pandemic have just exposed some of the underlying issues that has been there since before. Madrasa teachers and perhaps some imams, what they've been going through even before this pandemic, I think they have had very horrible experiences, but this has just come as a confirmation of the problems that they have been facing. Even to those that supposedly were being on salary from the mosque management or from madrasa managements, some of the salaries, just to mention, but at least it will be very much ashamed if you compare what we are paying our madrasa teachers or even some of our imams, what we are paying them, that we call salary, and now that even the same has been terminated because of this COVID. For example, a madrasa teacher who was being paid 3,000 shillings, and then with the coming of COVID, and then this 3,000 shillings is still not there.
Okay.
That in itself was still not enough for him. We are talking about somebody whom we have trusted with our children. We have given responsibility to that person, that he is the one who is going to lead these children. Remember, madrasa is not only about teaching children matters of Quran and Akhirah and Dunya, but it's also about making these children become people of upright standing in the community. So I think this is a responsibility that these madrasa teachers have that we have not appreciated as a community.
Now we will be taking a short break and we'll be right back to understand what exactly is the problem and find a solution. Now you can join in the conversation on our social media platforms, that is at Horizon TV Kenya, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Welcome back to the Real Life Talk with me, Aisha Khan, and today the topic of discussion is the plight of madrasa teachers and imams due to the coronavirus. Now, coming back to you, Sheikh Salim Charo, I have a question. And from the videos we watched in the feature, you find that a lot of the sheikhs are saying they rely solely on donation. Now, is there somewhere written that when you study Islam, you have to just stick to it and rely on donations, or can you, I mean, we can go back to the Prophet's time, peace be upon him, whereby people were propagating Islam, but at the same time we had they were doing farming, carpentry, and other ways in which they could earn money and actually sustain themselves.
Okay, personally, I don't know of any text where it is written that we should rely on well-wishers or donations. When we go back to history, starting with Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, he used to be a farmer. He used to farm so that he may get whatever sustenance. And if you look at all the prophet, even our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reading at his seerah, he used to he was a businessman.
Okay.
We had cases of Bukhari and Muslim. They were merchants. They used to sell garments and so on and so forth. So I don't know where this this habit of, you know, relying on donations came from. And that's what you're going to find, and you find that whatever that these imams or madrasa teachers are being given is something very small, something that you cannot even. There was a time I was giving a lecture somewhere in a certain mosque, and you know, I was trying to put that sense to those who give, because number one, the whatever salary or the wages that imams and madrasa teachers get is low. You cannot compare to what they do. So what I was trying to say is, look at what you give to the imam, and you know, you know, when you are sick, imam becomes the doctor. When someone dies, he becomes the undertaker or the mortuary attendant. You know, they'll just stand by you throughout throughout the stages of life. When you are marrying, you'll need an ustad. When you want your children to learn, you'll need an imam or a madrasa teacher. But whatever you give back to this imam or maalim, you know, it's something very strong, very small. But again, you know, it has become a habit. You know, those small tokens that most imams and madrasa teachers receive, you know, okay, it's something to supplement whatever small salary or low income they are getting, so that at least they may add up to whatever they are getting. But it has become a habit. But you know, it's not in our religion. You'll find that the muhajirun used to be, they were merchants, and the ansar, they were farmers, most of them, and that's why we're talking of the dates, you know, during the time of the prophets sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, you know, you'll hear stories of farms, or you know, the ansar farming. So if we are to emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I think we should go with the way that he used to do. And that's why I've been emphasizing in the most of the platforms we've been having with imams. They look for an alternative way of earning. That's through at least gaining or adding more skills, and also getting into other ventures like small businesses. There's an imam, okay, I won't mention his name, but from somewhere in Mukuru. He's a very good example, because number one, he has a small grocery shop, and he's a boda.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, after Fajr he goes to Marikiti, buys whatever the groceries for his wife. So before the wife prepares children to go to school, and you know, at that time he's the one tending to the grocery. And by the time the wife is ready, now he takes over as a boda rider. So that he may supplement whatever income. So you see, this is a very good example, and he won't depend on people. He won't go asking or you know, asking from people, you know. And one thing that in most cases we don't understand, when you go asking people and you are borrowing, and you are asking for you know, your honor, your respect, your dignity,
it lowers.
Yeah, it lowers. It gets, you know. So these are some of the things that we need to improve from our part.
Now, Sheikh Abu Hamza, I will come to you. Now, in the secular system of education, we have KUPPET, we have NAT. Now, who is representing these Islamic scholars and teachers on the ground?
I would like, first of all, to continue from where I left by saying that although diversification of duties and roles in terms of venturing into business and any other is good, but at the same time also we need to equate our imam and our madrasa teachers to professionals who are experts, and we need to learn to encourage them with the expertise that they are. KUPPET, as an example that you've mentioned, maybe not, these are professional teachers. These are teachers who are employed by either TSC or the government, and they are experts in that field, and they're employed because of that, for that purpose.
Okay.
So I think we need also to bring our teachers, madrasa teachers, to that level. bringing them to a level that we have our own NAT, our own Madrasa Teachers Union, that will have, first of all, we need, what Madrasa teachers need is respect from us as Muslims, because we don't respect them. That is number one. And then again, we need to look into their welfare and their rights. Because Madrasa teachers, like I said, the nature and the manner in which we employ them, and the nature and the manner in which, just for example, people build mosques. After building the mosque, the first thing will be building a house for the imam, a small house for the imam. But then at the same time, we have a madrasa teacher who is supposed to teach children in the same mosque. He has no house. So he has to rent a house outside the premises. And then again, with his meager salary, he has still to commute and pay salary and pay rent and do all that. So there's something that we need to do, first of all, bringing this madrasa teachers to the level of the expertise that we faithfully trust them with. That is, they must be understood to be professionals in their work, whatever level of their education understanding. I think it is not difficult for us as Muslims, because, for example, like in the Education Act in Kenya, madrasa is already there. So what we have to do as Muslims is to improve on what is there, make sure that now we bring the madrasa teachers on board. They have a welfare system, they have union, they have representation, such that they can now be able to stand on their own. Because when you employ a madrasa teacher, you don't just employ him with your terms, employ him with the professional terms that is outside there. So I think once we bring them at that level, then that way we can see that they are professionals, and then we will learn to respect them and we'll learn to work for them.
If you allow me, I can add on something.
Yeah.
Because most committee, most mosque committees and madrasa management, you know, they tend to hire qualified imams and ustads, because you know, for instance, if you have you are recruiting a graduate, definitely know what the remuneration that is going to be applied there will be. Something maybe according to them they cannot meet. So it makes them to go and hire or you know, hire underqualified. So this is one of the problems that we have. On the other hand, now from my part, maybe in Nairobi as a CIPK chair, okay, we are in talks with some of the organizations. We are looking whether we can at least we can equip imams with some small skills, and we can at least give them something so that they may start their own business. They can stand on their own. They cannot be, so that they may not be fully dependent on their salaries. So we are working on that. And if we, because we cannot at least train all of them, but at least we'll have a number of them being trained, and they'll be having that. And if we have other organizations willing to be part of it, they are welcome.
Now, I just have to interject here and say, you know, whenever I have such interviews, we all say Muslims need to come together and do this. Now, I want to know which Muslims are these and which organizations can come together, because this is a topic I talked about last year and the previous year, and before the pandemic. And today the pandemic has hit us and things have become worse. Now, Sheikh Abu Hamza, as SUPKEM, what role do you play in this challenging time?
I think as an organization, SUPKEM can only facilitate bringing these madrasa teachers and imams together, and working together with other like-minded organizations, because first of all, as you know, making or bringing these madrasa teachers or imams to the level that is required, like he's mentioning training here, it requires a lot of resources. Even government of Kenya, for example, is struggling with the payment of teachers through TSC and that and that. So an organization like SUPKEM cannot do it alone. So it's something that why we always talk about Muslims and we talk about the communities, because resources put together all Muslims bringing their resources together. But then again, for them to bring their resources together, there has to be seen a facilitative role, a very clear roadmap and a path that is indicating what we want to do. For now, I can say maybe we have some failures, yes, because we have not been able to do the roles that we're supposed to do properly. But if we put our heads together, this is something that can be done. Remember, even the so-called non-qualified teachers or imams or this, they cannot remain the same forever.
Yeah.
I remember even teachers, the current teachers we have in school, who are professional teachers teaching in schools. I remember at one time they were employed either as untrained teachers, but again, through some systems and internal going back for refresher courses, they are now fully professional paid teachers. So we can do the same with our madrasa teachers and also our imams. We have to bring a system in which we can retrain them, in which we can have some refreshers for them so that they will come to the level that we require of them. But if we leave them that they are underqualified, they are not graduate or whatever they are, because even graduates, even our graduate madrasa teachers are not paid better. Even our graduate imams are not paid better. So at least we need to start from somewhere. And again, I always tell madrasa teachers that it is them now, it is up to them now, first of all, to come together. Because even if an organization like SUKEM want to help madrasa teachers, we need first of all to find out how many are they, where are they, how can we find them. So it is something that we need to do it together, so that after we do the mapping, the survey, we know how many madrasa teachers do we have in the country. So then now we can start saying that their welfare, their rights can be looked upon into.
Because we have we have that data. We know how many imams are in Nairobi. We know how many madrasa teachers. You know, and yeah, it's something that needs you know, working together. Yeah.
So, Sheikh Salim Charu, what are the challenges that you're facing on the ground? I mean, you're in touch with these imams and you know their challenges. Now, as an organization, like, what challenges are you facing?
You know, before we started this interview, we were talking with Sheikh Abu Hamza here.
Yeah.
And we were talking, you know, the problem with our organizations, we don't have resources, we don't have fundings, you know, so that's the problem that we are going through. So, but initially, you know, we've been receiving lots of calls from imams and mahalims. You know, they need assistance. You know, when they get to a point where number one, they cannot even get the ration, you know, for their families. You know, it's a problem. So at that point, you know, we, you know, the approach that we applied is, you know, when you have fire, number one, you have to put it off first.
Yes.
Yeah, before you start investigating what was the cause of the fire. So at least we had some of the friends, and we tried where we could, and at least we assisted most of our imams that were in contact with us. But you know, looking at the situation, you know, it's something that we cannot just deal with the situation at once. You know, it's something that needs time, it needs resources, and it needs also collaboration with other organizations. Yeah.
Sheikh Abu Hamza, what is your message to people out there, both to the imams and organizations?
Imams and madrasa teachers, first of all, have to stand on their own feet. They need to stand firm and say, our rights are 1, 2, 3. Our welfare must be looked into. Before even asking organizations and asking other individual Muslims to come to their assistance, they need, first of all, to demonstrate that they are able to stand on their own. And by so doing, meaning that they need to challenge the systems that are there. They need to challenge us in SUPKEM. They need to challenge CIPK, that here we are as madrasa teachers organized. We have several associations of madrasa teachers. But again, bringing them together is a challenge, because this is one of the main challenge. I think that my brother did not mention here, that we are so fragmented and segmented. We are in different areas, but we are not together. I think this is one of the biggest challenges.
Unity.
Unity of the madrasa teachers. And again, amongst themselves, the madrasa teachers, they are also enemies of themselves because they don't like each other sometimes in some areas. If I have madrasa in a point A, I don't like my neighbor in point B. So this is one of the problems that we have. Bringing them together, uniting and forging a common front is one of the main challenges that is there.
Sheikh Salim Charo.
Okay, it's one of the challenges that we are facing. You know, people, generally, you know, the problem with the Muslim Ummah. We are not united, we are not one thing, and they are very petty politics. And, you know, this petty politics is it's what makes us not to advance, not to progress. Because, you know, when you start, you know, digging some petty issues, you know, and when they come to the public, you know, even if there was someone who was willing to assist, you know, no one, we cannot find a person who is willing to assist that will come and start maybe settling your disputes and then maybe chip in whatever they have. You know, so that's the main challenge that we are having. But at least we are having a little of progress. At least we are trying, and we've seen a very good example with the National Muslim COVID-19. And I had to mention that because, you know, these are different professions, different organizations, you know, people from different backgrounds coming together for one purpose, to ensure that at least they supplement what government they are doing, but they are, at the same time they are assisting the Muslim Ummah. You know, this is an example. And I'll keep on repeating this and saying, you know, that we need to have this. You know, in fact, I'll have to say this to Professor, who is our chairman from the other side, because it should not be disbanded, you know, after the COVID-19. We should think of post-COVID-19. You know, maybe let us come up with something like National Muslim disaster management, or I don't know, something.
This is just one crisis. We don't know what next.
At least we should remain with some. And it's a very good example that we are having, and things are being run there professionally. You know, so it's an example that we can come together, we can unite, we can work together, we can do things and serve the Ummah the way the way they need to be served.
Now, from all this conversation, I have just picked out and, of course, done a lot of research on COVID. It has affected almost every other sector. People are at home. And I just saw something trending on Instagram. One of the reporters or anchors in one of the TV stations is selling vegetables in his car boot. Now, my main question is, as Muslims, do we always make ourselves victims? Because this pandemic has affected many, not only religious leaders, but also people who are working. What can you say about that?
Okay, number one, there's a sister, she's a doctor. I won't mention her name, but she says, if you're not infected, you are affected.
True.
Yeah, and you know, we've been affected, but the problem is that, you know, I think it has become our habit as Muslims, as Muslims, to play victims in everything. You know, talking of, you know, I don't want to mention other things, but in every aspect, even the COVID itself. You could hear some people saying, you know, they are coming with this protocol so that they may start attacking Islam from inside. You know, they want to dictate to us how we should pray. You know, I don't know where we'll get if we have such mindset. I don't know what my brother here,
Sheikh Abu Hamza. Sorry, I'm keeping on calling you Sheikh Abu Najma because I'm so used to him. But Sheikh Abu Hamza, what are your final words in regards to Muslims always making themselves the victims?
Yeah, to me, it's not about us crying victim anymore. It is about exposing us as Muslims what we ought to have been doing and we are not doing. We are not proactive. I remember at one time when Kina Sheikh Charo came up with the issue of opening mosque, and the churches were like, tomorrow we are ready to open tomorrow, but we Muslims were not ready. So it's like we are not proactive. We are not seeing what is coming. We are not doing anything when we are supposed to be doing. So that is why we always complain of being victimized, but at the same time, we need to be proactive. We need to start doing things the right way. We start putting things together rather than waiting for the last minute when we are caught off guard.
Thank you so much for your time, and we hope this conversation is going to make us Muslims active and stop being the victims. Now, my perspective, the coronavirus pandemic has affected the economy greatly. Now, many people have been affected. Some have lost their jobs, others had to shut their businesses down, and others are on pay cut. Now, the big question is, what next? It is time for us to stand up and stop relying on donations and do something that will earn us a living, because desperate times require desperate solutions. I've been your host Aisha Khan, and this has been the Real Life Talk.